Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Sanchez. I'm the VP of Marketing and Sales Operations at Sales for Life. And I want to welcome you to probably one of the most advanced sessions at the Social Selling Summit, how to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to its full potential. Here, we're going to be giving sales teams a few clues on how to leverage Navigator to everything that it can do. Please remember to use the hashtag Social Selling Summit. And don't forget to also use the chat box if you want to comment on the session, if you want to interact with each other. And also don't forget to enter any questions that you might have via the Q&A box below the slides. We'll be answering them at the end of the session. So for this session, I'm joined by Mike Montague. He's a certified sales trainer and the director of content marketing at Sandler Training. Sandler is probably one of the largest education companies in the world, sales education companies in the world. They're in dozens of countries. And if you're in sales, you probably have heard of Sandler before. Say hello, Mike.
Yeah, welcome, and thanks for having me on. It's been an awesome experience so far. I'm really looking forward to this session. We've done a lot with Sandler with LinkedIn. I co-wrote a book with them on how to use LinkedIn the Sandler way, and it included a lot of stuff on Navigator that I'm excited to share with everybody, and excited to get some insights too from our other guests here.
Yeah, we're excited too. And I'm also here with Ali Ishrad, VP of Sales at Scribble Live's Visually Division. Ali has been in sales for over 15 years and has personally worked with companies of all sizes, including Marcus Evans, Rogers Communications, Top Hat, and he's now at Scribble Live, which is probably one of the most progressive content marketing platforms in the world. Welcome, Ali.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to learning from a lot of these experts and sharing some of my insights. Scribble Live is, a very interesting company with a lot of different content platforms that we work off of. We also have a partnership with LinkedIn from a content standpoint, but really excited to learn more from some of the other peers and sharing some insights I have.
Yeah, so Mike and Ali, I see a comment. People are saying that the speaker's voice is a little bit muffled, so if you can speak closer to the mic, maybe we can help a bit with that.
Sure, I'll do that.
And awesome. I'll do the same. So let's get right into it and start with the first question. So you work with dozens of sales teams, and you work with sales teams that use the LinkedIn Sales Navigator and LinkedIn as a whole. What results have you seen from those who do leverage LinkedIn and LinkedIn Sales Navigator?
Well, I can go first on that one. I think, like you mentioned earlier, Sandler is an international organization. So we have trainers in 250 locations in 31 countries, and we get a lot of feedback, but some of my best ones are just around like really instant results. That they have tried something, they've asked for a referral on LinkedIn, or they just signed up for a Navigator, and instantly they started getting feedback or opportunities into their pipeline because of the new behaviors that they were taking. I think that's some of the really exciting stuff, and I've seen huge numbers from anywhere from, I just got one yesterday, I made an $11,000 sale because I sent a podcast through LinkedIn to one of my prospects. He loved it, called me back, we set an appointment, made the sale, to getting greater insights. I had no idea they were talking to my competitors, or I had no idea there were extra decision makers involved until I went on LinkedIn and noticed that there were other people in this department and stuff. And I think those are really the key ones that most salespeople are looking for as they go out and use it.
How about you, Ali? Do you have anything to add?
Sure. I'd say, like, with LinkedIn Navigator, I think where sales is headed is, you think about the two major streams of communication, and you think of, phone calls and email. And LinkedIn itself is the third option, which opens a whole new style of dialogue, a whole new style of communication. And I think it's a very underutilized mode of communication that just opens up more weapons in your arsenal. I've seen some of the biggest deals we've done come directly through LinkedIn Navigator. What I also find is some of the more senior level positions, they're more responsive on Navigator and LinkedIn as they would be in an email or trying to get them on the phone. So We've seen a lot of success. I think it comes down to the type of communication that your message and all these other factors. But overall, LinkedIn Navigator has definitely opened a new mode of communication that's working really well for us.
Awesome. Yeah, and speaking of results and how sales teams are integrating that, how do you see LinkedIn Sales Navigator and LinkedIn as a whole being added onto a regular sales routine? How are the most successful companies doing this?
Go for it, Ali.
I guess for myself, the way we've integrated it is we've made it a part of a cadence. So if many of you have been trained on cadences, sequences of communication, whether it's a sequence of emails followed up by phone calls, we've integrated Navigator as part of our cadence. So, do we do a first touch point through looking at someone's profile or building a sort of a lead builder around that? Do we then send a first email to then trying to get them on the phone? And then if it's part of more of an account-based selling strategy, you definitely want to communicate with them via LinkedIn as part of that sequence. And again, I think it comes down to the type of communication you're having. LinkedIn itself is going through something really interesting, and I think people don't realize this. In working with them, we found that there's 9 times more content coming on LinkedIn as there are job postings. And that wasn't the case like 5-10 years ago, where it was originally kind of known for just being a job posting board or a place where you look for new positions. And so if you're thinking 9 times more content, the customer themselves is now turning to LinkedIn for thought leadership and more insights. And so learning how to play the LinkedIn game is very different than learning how to play the phone game or learning how to play the email game. It's about adapting your message to why people are going to LinkedIn and then using Navigator as a tool to get that message out.
Yeah, and I like what the question was phrased there. How do you add it on to your sales routine? And I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of salespeople that I work with and train, they are frustrated because they don't know how to work it in, or they're trying to abandon other stuff and switch to LinkedIn or Sales Navigator. And I think that's the wrong thinking. I think you want to supplement the way you already know how to sell. You're already a successful salesperson. You already can make contacts and get deals into the pipeline. How do you do that better and faster? So in addition to what all of the awesome things he just said, is think about pre-call research. So before I pick up the phone, I need to at least look them up on LinkedIn and look them up on Sales Navigator to see if they've been mentioned in the news, if there's a job change, they're still the current person. Do we have things in common? Do I have a great referral introduction that one of my best clients is already connected to them on LinkedIn? And I could say, hey, do you know Joe? And think about all of those things before you pick up the phone, because in our world, I think in 2017, you're actually being rude if you don't do your pre-call prep. I get emails and calls from salespeople every day trying to sell me tech and tools, and they didn't even look at my profile and see that we already have that, or we sell a tool like that, or that I have experience in web design and things that you can easily look up. And they're being insensitive and rude by not taking the 5 minutes to do their pre-call plan before they pick up the phone. I love doing it in interactions, like you said, part of the call cadence. Switch it up. If you're not getting through with email or phone or text, throw out a LinkedIn message or a direct message on social media, and then following up with that, using your content marketing to nurture the relationships. Always be there for customer service. Expand the relationships with referrals. Find out who they know that you want to get introduced to, and continue using it throughout the entire sales cycle.
Yeah, Mike and Ali, I think you both are on point. And maybe to sort of summarize, what you're saying is that we should look at the entire sales routine and take LinkedIn as just another channel where we can reach buyers, create awareness, educate them, and then ultimately develop an account or a relationship with those buyers, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not just a tool, and it's not just a prospecting tool. It's a selling tool to go all the way through the sales process.
Makes sense. And it sort of leads me to the next question. A lot of companies wonder, if LinkedIn Sales Navigator is worth the investment. And a lot of them are probably in the mindset of, okay, my reps are using LinkedIn. We're not sure if we have to pay for a tool to get the same job done. Like, in your experience when working with sales teams, what's the sort of point when they decide to drop money on LinkedIn and acquire Sales Navigator?
Mike, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll take this one first because I think it's the exact same as sales training that we do here at Sandler, which is you can spend the money on it, but if you don't show up, if you don't do the work, if you don't use the tools, you won't see the benefit from it. So I think it's a no-brainer investment if you use it every day and you maximize the tool that they've given you. It will guaranteed make you an ROI on your time and money spent in Sales Navigator, but you got to do it. It's like going to the gym. You can't just pay the membership and then expect to lose weight or get stronger and more fit. You have to go there and you have to use the tools every day. You have to make it part of your daily routine and habit. And there's a little bit of a learning curve. It's not steep, but you have to use it consistently enough to get good at it so that you really learn where the sweet spot is for your industry and your company and your sales cycle.
So I'd have to definitely agree with Mike. I think, in today's day and age when, sales teams are just buying up all this different tech that does all these different things, and just in my experience and working on different sales floors, it's not a buy the solution type of scenario. I think the first question any business needs to ask with a solution as expensive as LinkedIn Navigator, because it isn't cheap, is how are we going to support the team around it? What type of enablement strategy are we going to deploy as a business unit and commit to making this thing work? Because again, you will see some salespeople who are very effective on it because they've decided that they just want to get really good with it. And then they make it a challenge for themselves to monitor their progress and see what methods of communication work. Should they be sending content? Should they be using it for networking? Should they ask for meetings directly? Whatever strategy they're finding that came with practice and dedication. So as a business unit, I think, and it goes with any tool, is are you willing to build a program around your tools? Because otherwise, you may find you have a lot of tools, within the organization that are just not being used, and you're spending a lot of money on them.
So it is a skills problem first, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a cultural thing too. I think sales, there's this element of sales culture to every floor, and some cultures aren't very progressive with social technology, and some are. And it's about steering the entire group in this direction and doing some kind of like weekly training around it or sharing success stories and making it like driving it as a part of the sales culture is one of the key things you have to do.
And I'll just add on with that, we don't want to make it a blatant commercial to go out and buy a Sales Navigator, but really one of the interesting things about it is that it's more valuable the more people on your team that are using it. Because with the team link functions and stuff, you start reaching into their network and seeing their relationships, and you have more eyeballs on the trigger events and opportunities coming through the pipeline, better things happen. So when you can create that culture and you can get a group of people in here engaging in the tool, you'll see a lot better returns than if you're just using the free version of LinkedIn by yourself.
Makes total sense. And I just want to remind everyone that you can enter any questions you might have in the Q&A box, and we'll be answering at the end of the session. So please slot them in. And the next question from us for the session is obviously related. Why Navigator versus other sales technologies? There's a lot of tools for prospecting, creating awareness, educating. How does Navigator fare against the rest?
I guess I would jump in. There's a lot of good tech out there that does some of the things Navigator does. I think some of them are almost as good, but again, it goes back to like usage and the commitment there. But LinkedIn does have, the most biggest asset is the amount of users on it and the amount of insight you get there. you're getting the most up-to-date information. So if you're using tools like Zoom Info and stuff to get like lead information, you'll find that some of that information is outdated. I find that LinkedIn gives you the most relevant, up-to-date information, and then it has a lot of the other cool features that a lot of other services have that somewhat compete with it.
Yeah,
Anything you want to
I'll
add?
second that. And I think as far as your sales stack goes, to me, it's one or two. That if you have a large organization, probably a CRM system is your number one purchase, because you're going to have salespeople going out, and if you're not tracking your opportunities, you're going to have no idea what's going on. Somebody's going to leave and take their entire pipeline with them because it's not documented anywhere. But outside of that, if you're a small organization or you need to prospect and build better relationships, for me, this is number two on the list because of exactly what Ali said, but also think about this is your self-updating Rolodex, that everybody on LinkedIn is updating their own contact information. There are prospects out there begging for you to pay attention to them, and they're posting every single day about their needs and the things that are important to them. If you're not paying attention, you're missing out on opportunities.
Great. And in terms of specific examples of uses of Navigator of emails, more specifically, have you seen any? Can you highlight or show? And I know we don't have a screen share option here, but maybe you can sort of describe some of the best outreaches you've seen that reps have done via email.
Yeah, and if you go to Sandler.com/LinkedIn Secrets, you can download a free PDF version of my book, LinkedIn the Sandler Way, and there's some scripts and things in there as well. But for me, an email is perfect when it's short. We know from research that short subject lines get opened more than long subject lines. So if you just use something like question, introduction, or help, people will open the emails to see who needs help, what the introduction is, or what question you're going to ask, and they'll at least read it. And I'm sure everybody on this call knows by now that LinkedIn emails and stuff get opened way more than regular emails. They get delivered to inboxes more reliably, and it's a great way to reach out. And then the message, Sandler-wise, we like a really short, sort of 3 to 5 sentences about here's the trigger event that I noticed, why I'm reaching out. Maybe I noticed you're connected to so-and-so. I noticed you're in the local chamber. I noticed that you guys have a new product launch going on, whatever it happens to be. And then some sort of pain statement. We don't want to make this super long, but in Sandler terms, that is the problems that we solve, and it needs to be 3 or less. I work with people who are struggling with X, they're concerned about Y, or they have this situation that they need to take care of. And then part 3 is I solve those problems better and differently than everybody else by X. So it's really short, and then a hook question, some sort of way to get a response. Would it make sense? Are you experiencing any of those issues? Would it make sense for us to talk? So it's really quick: introduction, pain, benefit, and then hook question or call to action.
So I can share some insight. I don't have a PDF or book around it, so I got to work with what I know. But to Mike's point, yeah, it's all about the pain. So I think the biggest issue I've seen on, I would say, endless amount of sales floors is that we get caught up in ourselves and we start messaging people about why we're so awesome and all our features and advantages and benefits and why they should know us. And that's a huge turnoff, especially in an in-mail. And I think with an in-mail, because you are limited, depending on your kind of usage of it, you're limited to the number of in-mails you may use in a month. You better make sure you do your homework and you're ready to put a message out. And I always advise my team to go all in and commit to a specific problem based on their experience with other similar companies and what they've learned through current, past clients in that realm. So again, to keep it short, you want to really attack a problem because that's the way your customer thinks in. So he's got some challenges, and then you approach him and discuss those challenges briefly, and then relate it to another scenario where you've solved that problem. So for example, like I might say, Mike, I understand how frustrating it is to deal with XYZ. Clients like ABC and 123 have finally overcome this challenge by utilizing this platform that can now do this, this, and this. You might want to include a little link to some kind of story there and just say, you know, does it make sense for us to chat or something really brief to a call to action? I don't think customers necessarily like the, I'm going to call you today at 5 or tomorrow at 3, because 9 times out of 10, you as a sales rep, you're not even going to call them anyways. You're just putting these times out there into outer space. But it gives you, it speaks to a problem, and then it shows some kind of relation to your understanding with another client of how you overcome it. So then, does it make sense for us to chat? It comes across very professional and direct and non-salesy, and we find that we're getting some really good results around that. And that's just one example, but of course, to Mike's point, there's relationships, there's other angles you can use that can open up a dialogue. I think at the end of the day, we got to remember, like, why are we doing all this stuff? And the reason why we're doing it is to ultimately get them on the phone, and if you're a software company, show them a demonstration or walk them through something, or a service or whatever the case may be. So all this is how do I get this guy interested to have an intelligent conversation with me? And so think that way as you use this tool.
I love that, and I love that you mentioned content there, because I think the more you personalize that message you send, the better your responses will be. And if you can personalize that with a piece of content, like, here's a PDF I think you would like. I saw you're going to a trade show. Here's how we help at trade shows. And we send them a PDF. Now you're talking about adding value instantly, and you're not doing that salesy trick of, I'll call you at 2 unless it's a bad time, write me back kind of thing.
Yeah, like I guess. Sorry, if I could just add, like, I find that usually the conversation ender. So once you say, I'm going to call you at 2 tomorrow, and then you try him maybe at 2 tomorrow, it kind of ends everything, because now you don't know what to do. You've told him, he didn't respond, and now you're like, well, what do I do next? So I would never end a mail with a time, because it doesn't allow you to do anything else beyond that, or it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Makes total sense. And I guess to summarize what you guys are saying, and what I noticed is that the theme is that the same principles that you use in other channels like email, like phone, of personalization, of leading with value, also have to be applied to other channels like LinkedIn or Twitter or anything in social, really, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think selling changes just because we have the internet. I think interpersonal communication, finding reasons for them to do business, establishing a budget, figuring out their decision-making process and criteria, that's always going to be the game for salespeople. For me, it's how do I leverage the information that's out there on LinkedIn and this communication channel and the content that we have in internet marketing to make that job easier.
Yeah, and we have 3 minutes left, so I just want to jump right into the questions from the audience. We had a couple left in the session, but I think some of these are really good. One of the most common questions that people ask is, what's the difference between regular LinkedIn and Navigator? What am I getting by paying for Navigator? And I don't know if you guys could answer this. Mike?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. I think there has been some big changes here since LinkedIn updated around the first of the year. They started rolling out updates, and some of the tools are more limited on the free version. You can still do a lot of the things. It's just more difficult, or you have less filters for things. So in Sales Navigator, there are a few features and benefits that I really like. Number one is it's basically like pulling out a separate version of LinkedIn with only your prospects in it. So it removes all the clutter of the other 1,500 people that might be in your company or your network that you don't necessarily care about as an individual salesperson, and just shows you the prospects that you want in front. It also pulls some newsworthy items and other trigger events like job changes that you need to be aware of and puts them right in your face where you can pay attention to that if you just check in like 20 minutes a day. The other thing are the advanced filters and in-mail messages that you get. So you can target a list and save prospects in here that you're going to pursue over and over again. So I like it because I can do an advanced search with my pro level filters and get really down to a good targeted list that I can never use the excuse, I don't know who to call today, or I don't have anybody to call, or I need to, add stuff to my pipeline, because there's stuff right in front of me there. I just need to work this list that I've already saved.
Yeah, to Mike's point, like the lead generating and the lead builder is, like, to me, the biggest asset, where you can even categorize within industries and accounts. And if you're doing more sophisticated account-based selling, or you own a certain territory, it makes life easier. So you think of a basic LinkedIn, and now suddenly it turns into somewhat of a CRM tool, where you can filter and organize your day. And the beauty of it is that, again, it's up-to-date information, and that's all at your fingertips, and it's easy to utilize. The in-mails are obviously very valuable because you can now message people that are outside your network as well.
Great. Looks like there's a lot of value-added features compared to the regular LinkedIn version. Another question from the audience: what exact type of content would you recommend to share on LinkedIn versus other channels?
So I guess I could jump in there. So it's interesting. So LinkedIn's big push recently is moving to becoming more of a content thought leader, outside of, again, what they were in the past, which is more like the job-related, recruiting-related software that I was kind of known for. But what they're finding is that the type of customers, the type of content people are looking for in LinkedIn does look a bit different than it may look in other formats or online. Simple, like, infographic type stuff is effective, but what's really good is taking, like, white paper type heavy content that may have been converted to simple, kind of visual, entertaining type content, if we're talking a personal level of what your company's created. And what also is effective is collecting articles from not only competitors, but just kind of thought leaders in the market that has to do with problem solving and bringing up the bigger issues around what your solution does. So it doesn't always have to be like, here's an example of a client that we help do something for. It could be a few steps above that about, look how important this bigger thing is, and helping educate your customer around putting their mind around what you do. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I would just add that anytime you're doing content marketing, relevancy is the number one thing. So if you're on LinkedIn, this is a business site, so it's mostly business information. If you're selling a B2C product or something, probably Facebook or Twitter would be better options than LinkedIn. But business-related stuff, like you mentioned, some of the deeper, headier stuff about ROI, about problems that it solves, educational stuff that's going to really engage somebody that's doing work and trying to make their job or make quota or improve their business processes. This is more learning stuff for me than it is marketing, fun stuff, entertaining things. Even though you still want to use the visually stimulating images and videos, they're more educational than they are entertaining, I think.
So one thing I could speak to, as far as, visually itself, we create content for our clients, and we have thousands, like, if not majority of the Fortune 500 that we design for, from like animations to infographics, everything, is that we talk a lot about the term buyer journey. And to simplify it, all the buyer journey is a sequence of questions a person's going to ask along the route to making a decision. So don't be one-dimensional with your content, because it may only be answering certain questions where people aren't there yet. And so it should be basic questions that your content relates to, which is more the discovery phase of someone learning something new, to the more evaluation phase where they're now saying, well, wait a minute, these solutions make sense. I want to dig a bit deeper. Let me look for the right content, to more like the final kind of purchasing phase, what type of questions would I be asking then? And that's when things get a bit heavier, like ROI and white papers and like where you start really digging in before you make a big purchase. So be mindful of collecting content, and it doesn't have to be your own. There's tons of great stuff out there, but be mindful of where I guess how your content relates to the buyer journey itself.
Awesome. I think it's been a very insightful session. Unfortunately, we're reaching the top of the hour right now. There's a lot of questions still in the queue, so I will be personally sharing them with both Mike and Ali. And if you guys want to answer any of them, feel free to do so. Thank you very much for joining us, Mike and Ali. Is there anything else you want to add to close?
Yeah, I'll just say thanks to everybody for attending. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just Mike D. Montague at the end, or you can just search for me. And same thing, if you want to shoot me the questions on Twitter or something too, it's Mike D. Montague and follow Sandler Training. I'll do my best to answer all the questions.
How about you, Ali?
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for joining. Again, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn with any questions. Mike, it was a pleasure learning from you as well. Very insightful, and I appreciate everyone's time.
Thanks to both of you, and thanks everyone for joining. I hope you join us for the next session in the queue. It's the last of the day, so make sure to tune in.